Hey, all you construction champions out there. I'm Ron Nussbaum, your host of Construction Champions Podcast. And I'm super excited today. We have another stellar guest. I know you're probably getting tired of hearing that, but I just can't believe the fire that we're bringing with our guests. So I have Jake on here today. Me and Jake just recently met each other out in Phoenix at MenaceCon. What a great event. If you don't know about what the Menace boys are doing out in the Phoenix area, go look them up today. And that is the honest truth. So, Jake, it is great to have you here today.
Thank you, Ron. I'm excited to be here and looking forward to chatting with you today.
Awesome. So Jake's absolutely killing it in construction. And when I heard his story at MenaceCon, I couldn't help but go up to him and invite him to be on the show because I know he's got stuff that's going to resonate with all listeners out there. And I'm super excited for it today, just like I said. So, Jake, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? What are you doing? Where you come from? And just the nitty gritty on Jake.
Awesome. Thank you, Ron. Yeah, so my name is Jake Moss. I live in Queen Creek, Arizona, so in the Phoenix Valley. I've been in construction for my whole life. I started out as the little gopher boy on my dad's construction sites and, trash, cleanup, you name it. That's what I did. And as I got older, my teen years, I was in HVAC construction, worked on a lot of large school projects and a lot of different, projects in that atmosphere. And then at 23, I built a 12,000 square foot school addition by myself with no prior knowledge from the ground up construction. The following year, built a 50,000 square foot school in 120 days. That's kind of my ode to joy. That was a fun project. We started in April and we were done right in time for school to start. And I've built some field houses for a charter school as well. I know, super state of the art, collegiate-style locker rooms. And now in 2019, I went out and started my own company. I focus on both commercial and residential projects, and I look for the unique projects that people tend to turn away. That people are like, hey, no, this isn't quite my niche, isn't it? I've learned to say yes, because if you say yes, then I think that is where you will continue to grow. So as I've been doing that for the last 3 or 4 years, we've had our ups and downs, like any company, but come back stronger, and we come back on top. And that's a little bit about me. I've commercial space, getting into the residential. I just finished up 2 custom homes in Queen Creek, about 4,000 square foot each, and just living the dream and loving helping people.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that you said something very unique there that we don't hear too often in the construction industry is that you've decided to take on the unique projects, to just say yes. What was kind of the reason for that? What made you have a passion to do that stuff?
There's a lot of satisfaction in doing something that someone else cannot do or chooses not to. And that's what I've found in what I've done. And I had a mentor tell me once, he's like, just say yes more, and you see what happens to your life. It's amazing. And as I've said yes, it's brought in me opportunities to work on some really unique projects, to learn from a lot of different people, and to ultimately make money. Because there's a lot of money on the table when people say no, or they turn down these unique projects, just because I'm the guy that's willing to do it and I'll figure it out. That's kind of what took me there. Was this is a niche and this is a void that I can fill. And that's essentially why I started my company back in 2019. Was I started out as a drywall subcontractor. As was working on these schools, and I was doing all this, we always had issues with drywall in the commercial space. And so, I was like, I'm going to fix that. I made enough contacts, and I went out and I decided to be the person that did it right. And that's just slowly evolved into saying yes to, even if it's a small project, I'll say yes, because even the small guy, even the person who might be struggling but needs something redone, needs a contractor on their side. They need someone that can help them fulfill their dreams and or needs. in that space.
That's amazing. So yeah, being able to do the unique right. I like that because
Yeah.
a lot of times that's where problems end up happening. It's not in the grand scale of projects, but when you get down into that unique stuff and the fact that you're focusing on that and have made that the heart of your business and made a decision that you're going to be able to just do it right that's amazing. That speaks to why you're having so much success doing what you're doing, and you're just rocking and rolling out there. So, Jake,
Thank you.
I'm going to ask you the $1,000,000 question here,
Okay.
and that is, what makes a construction champion, and what does it take to be one in 2023?
Ron, I think kind of tying to what I just said, to be a construction champion, it's kind of twofold. You need to say yes, like I just said, because you never know what opportunities are going to allow you to grow. But you also need to have parameters as to what you'll say yes for, because it's not just saying yes and taking on every little project. It's saying yes to have an ends to it. And I think being a construction champion is showing up every day, showing up for your clients, and being the person who you tell them that you are. And I think as more people try to focus on saying yes, not only for work, but for opportunities to connect, opportunities to collaborate with other contractors and other people in the space, that is what truly makes a champion. And that's what I see. And I think you and I briefly spoke about this at MenaceCon, and too many people these days are mine, and those aren't the real champions. Those are the guys that'll be gone, or they're the ones that give the contractors, hey, I had my contractor friend do this and he walked off, and that's not a real champion. They're just in it for themselves. I love to help other people. And I think that's what it all comes down to. If I can't do something, I know I have a contact that can totally do it for someone else. And I think that's what it means to be a champion, is to say yes and look for opportunities to grow and collaborate with other people in the industry to create a more eco-friendly ecosystem of contractors, and change the way that the industry is viewed.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. What you're saying, that's awesome. And the yes to collaboration. Like your first part kind of runs into the second, because we're unwilling to say yes to that collaboration. Jake, why do you think that is? Why do you think there's such this stigma of mine throughout the entire industry?
I think in the past, construction has had its ups and downs. We all know 2008. We all know, hey, the housing market the last 2020, it's ebbs and flows. And so I think people, this is going to get deep, but I think people are oftentimes so insecure in who they are, and they're worried about external forces that they don't want to share, because they themselves are having turmoil in their life. They themselves are having issues that they are working through, and so they're holding on to the one thing that they know to be true, and that's what they know in construction, that they maybe learned for generations, or and they think it's some family secret, some family, whatever it may be. But in reality, I think a lot of people hide and hold on to that selfishness because they're unsure of who they are.
I
in
like
in the
that.
in the construction industry, I think that would be the biggest reason.
Yeah, I like that. So you're one of the young guns out there getting it done. Are you seeing a shift in this? Is this something that is, the old status quo that's getting broken down? Or do you think this is something that we really need to work on as an industry together?
I think we really need to work on it. I think there's programs, and there's groups, and there's things that are trying to make a difference, and there are some changes. There are some changing of the tides and the colors, as you will, because I don't remember the exact factor, but I think in the next 10 to 12 years, like 60% of the construction force will be retired.
Mm-hmm.
And so I need to find that exact stat. But I think if we don't do something now, if we don't continue to collaborate, if we don't continue to work with each other, then there's going to be a huge opening. There's going to be a huge gap that needs to be filled because the senior contractors, the people who've been in it for a long time, they're getting tired. They're getting tired of beating the nail, grinding day after day. And and I think as I see more of my peers and more people my age, it's a little more open book, a little more talk shop, a little bit more, which I think we just need to continue on doing.
Yeah, I don't see. I'm a big component of just having those open conversations, but I had found myself in the past in an environment where everything was just secretive. Like everything we did as we continued to grow and scale, it was like, don't talk to anybody about this. This is how we do it.
Yep.
This is like, and to me, like I had to break out of that. Like that was uncomfortable. Like that's just not who Ron is. Ron
Yeah.
wants to be out there collaborating, having these conversations, not keeping it a secret. And that's why I moved from being in the industry to supporting the industry, because I couldn't have the impact that I wanted just out there day to day doing working in the field. Like that just didn't get the end mission. And that's why I'm here having conversations with people like you every week, because I truly think if we open up that book and we open up that dialogue, it doesn't hurt each other. There's enough business out there. I mean, if you get 1% of the business in Phoenix, you're probably going to have more work than you've ever thought you could do.
Oh,
But
exactly.
we look at it like, oh man, they might go steal a job, but we look at it so competitively, other than how can we help each other move it forward. And with what I do is when I talk to people and I'm talking about having collaborative conversations, at the end of the day, I want to help the contractors, the builder. Like in my mind is, what can I do to make their life better so their customers' lives better? And I think if contractors and builders started coming together and understanding, like, what can we do to make each other's lives better? Because that's going to create a better life for the customers, which creates a better image of the industry and as a
Yep.
whole. I mean, I know you feel the pain on this, is we're one of the only industries that allows that 3% of bad eggs to control the narrative for the entire industry. And I think that's BS. Like we
I
shouldn't
agree.
allow that.
Yep. No, and I think there's a lot of things there's a lot of pride in construction. I remember when I was working for the company I was at, we were building a custom home. It was the first custom home that we got into, and there was a guy that he was friendly with us, and he was a general contractor, built a lot of custom homes. Like he's the expert when it comes to custom homes.
Mm-hmm.
And I messaged him a few times that, hey, who do you recommend for this trade, because all of ours were commercial specific. And I remember my boss at the time was like, hey, don't ask too much, because it makes us look bad. And I didn't get it. I was like, really? I mean, if anyone really cared, they would, sure, here, this is my sub, he's awesome, give him a call. If he can take care of you, he can take care of you. And I think it's just, there's pride. People, like I said before, people are insecure, people have pride, and they know what works for them. And like I said, they don't want to become part of that 3%, or maybe the 10% that is new and wanting to grow, because they're humiliated by it. If you're an older person in the construction industry, you should know it. It's just that expectation. Oh, you've been in construction for this long, you should know. You should know how to do this, and that's bullcrap. That's not true. We're always learning, we're always trying to grow, and we're always trying to gain experience from other people. And it's sad that there's the bunch that give construction a bad rep, but I think that's just, we got to fight harder to change that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to back up to something that you said there about the reaching out for help to who you found the best person in the area at doing what you were doing. and reached out to him and was asking questions, and that was looked upon that would make you look bad. Like that
Yep.
that to me that's backwards thinking. Like to me, that is, you couldn't have done a better way to go about that. Like you found the person and then asked them for advice. Like, but in the industry, that's like, Jake, you're looking weak because you're asking, but actually you're strong because you're asking, because you want to make sure you're doing the right thing and getting the right people and not messing it up for the entire
Exactly.
industry. Like that,
Yeah.
that's amazing. So what was the thought process that got you to making those original phone calls or reaching out, sending the message? Because I know we have a lot of listeners that are probably wanting to do that, but are scared to pick up the phone because exactly what you were told is like that's what it would be looked like. So how did you go about making that connection?
It was, I had two options. It was keep calling all these contractors, calling all my commercial guys, hey, can you do this for us? Can you do this for us? And it was no, 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 we don't do residential. We don't do that. And so then I was like, you know what, this is dumb. I mean, I'm on a timeline. Let me call another builder and just say, hey, who do you use for this trade? I'm missing a trade. Can you help me out? Who's your best residential, fire sprinkler guy or whatever it was? And because at the end of the day, it was on me to get it done. And so I was like, I can sit here and bang my head against the wall and expect results, but that's the definition of insanity. And so I went out and was like, I'm going to do something about it because I didn't know. I could Google, hey, give me subcontractors, but why? When we have a cell phone in our pockets that give us access to a network of people and who usually are willing to help, usually.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's just, you can keep banging your head against the wall every day, all day, but in the end, what's one phone call hurt? I've one phone call, one decision. It's so simple. And I think that's just what it was for me. It was like, I need to get this done. I'm going to get, chastised if I don't do it. I'm going to get, hey, I need this done. I need this done. Well, where are we at? I'm trying to get it done, but you don't want me to ask for help. So it was just kind of I was in a between two hard places. So I just found my way forward and moved on.
Yeah, I love that. And making the decision that you were going to do the right thing for everybody involved. Because that was the right thing to do, is to make that call to figure it out instead of beating your head against the wall, because that doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't do anything for your employees and subs. And it definitely doesn't do anything for the customer at the end of the day. And when
Yep.
you're building a company like you're building, that reputation of getting it done and figuring it out, especially when you're working on the unique, is everything.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Jake, what do you think? You're highly successful very quickly in construction here. What do you think are the things that you have done that have positioned you to be able to go do what you're doing? Like what do you contribute that success to?
I would definitely say knowing where I lack. And I think that's something that I still struggle with in certain aspects of my business, certain aspects of the industry, but just truly, okay, what am I good at and what do I lack in? And I think, I found what I'm good at, and that is what has made me success, has gotten me to the point where I'm at today, is I leaned into my strengths, but also strengthened my weaknesses. I know that I take double the amount of time to get something done that I should. And I plan for that. So then that way I'm not beating myself up. I'm not mad that, hey, I'm supposed to have this done in an hour. I plan 2 hours. So then I tell somebody, hey, I have it done. Here it is, because I know that it takes me longer. So I've leaned into my strengths, which have allowed me to produce more. And I think that's, it goes back to saying yes. I've been blessed with a lot of opportunities to take on some big projects because of connections that I've had, because of connections that I made while I was working in the industry as a superintendent, as a project manager, because people knew who I was. And that's something I kept my word. I kept promises to people, and I held up my end of the deal. So that way people would know, hey, Jake is going to get it done. And I think that's been the biggest thing, is just being who I say I'm going to be, and owning the weaknesses that I have and not letting them leak into my day-to-day operations.
I love that, because that's something that's actionable that we can all go do. I talk a lot about looking in the mirror and having these hard conversations with ourselves. It sounds like you had a few of those that have
Yeah.
led you to understand exactly what you're good at and what you need to get better at. And that's really where that magic starts to happen. What is one piece of advice you would give somebody that's trying to transition from just doing that regular thing to going and being a champion and being a leader within the construction industry like yourself? What would they be that piece of advice you would give them?
I think this is a couple parts. I think number one would be to figure out why you're doing it. Why are you in the construction industry first and foremost? I had this realization just after MenaceCon a week and a half ago, was that I like construction. I'm good at it. I'm good at what I do, but it wasn't fulfilling me 100%. And so those are the things that I looked deep in myself, and I was like, hey, what do I need to do? And now that I realize, okay, hey, this is my avenue to create change for people, to create income, to create opportunities for me and my family. Now I want to also, kind of like you're supporting the construction industry. I want to create groups. I want to create movements of people that can grow as well. And I think that is the way that someone can transition to being a champion, is to figure out why you're in the industry in the first place. I ended up in the industry truthfully because it's all I knew. My grandpa was in construction, my dad was in construction. It was everything. It was a way to make money. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I also think that if you're hating your job and hating what you do, you'll never be able to make a champion. But because it's probably something internal. It's probably something that you're struggling with internally that is keeping you from making that change and bridging the gap. So that's my number one, would be to look inside and figure out why you're in the industry. And number two would be just to act and to do more and to put yourself out there, set up, meetups, set up local meetups, do different things to spark that fire that you will, if you want to really become a champion, if you want to be someone in that construction space, to do that. Because if you don't, hey, that's okay. But if you do, find your reason why, and then go attack and say yes and get it done.
That is amazingly said there, Jake. It has been absolutely amazing having you on the show today. So if people wanted to come find you, get involved with what you're thinking the future looks like for Jake in the construction industry, or say they're in your area and they want you to come build a house for them, what's the best ways for them to find you?
Best way to contact me, you can call me. My cell phone number is 602-529-0493, or you can look me up on Instagram at Jake Moss the Builder, and my company is M2 Industries, and my website's m2industriesaz.com.
Awesome, Jake. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here today. So are you construction champions out there? Jake, wasn't he a fantastic guest today? Yeah, I can hear you guys applauding. So in the show notes, I'm going to have Jake's bio along with those links. Reach out to him. This is a young man that is out to do amazing things in the construction industry. And I know the future is very bright, and we're going to be seeing great things come from him in the future. And hey, construction champions, until next time.